Hi, welcome back to Mingus on Tech. I'm Ken Mingus, Executive News Editor at Computer World. I'm here with Keith Shaw from Network World. It's October the 5th, the day after the big Google Pixel announcement, so we're going to talk about Google. Finally, something not Apple related.
I know, I'm amazed. I was expecting an Apple announcement here.
Well, we might touch on that.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
But just to recap, Google yesterday had a big announcement with a lot of hardware devices that they're rolling out. The Google Pixel, the Google Home, Google Wi-Fi. There was Google Assistant, which is sort of the AI part. We'll get into in a little bit that ties things together. And it's really interesting to see that Google really is making a hardware play that sort of mimics what Apple's been doing for years. I'm shocked. I know we had to get a reference to
I knew you were going to get that in there.
I did. At least I didn't throw in the Google iPhone, aka Pixel. Wait, I just did.
Yeah, it was interesting to see Google, which has always been known as a software company, kind of moving into this space, into the hardware space, because what we've seen in a lot of trends is companies getting out of the hardware
business. But that's where the money is. If you really
but it's so hard to be a hardware company in the technology space. I mean, all the people that I talk to that do gadgets, they were like, oh, we'd love to be just a software company or in the cloud. And now you're seeing like cloud companies moving back into this hardware thing. Yeah. They've really developed kind of what I think the goal is they want to develop an ecosystem where people buy into the Google brand for everything. It starts with the phone, which is the Pixel. I think they've dropped the Nexus kind of line.
So,
they're not going to make any more.
Sort of a neglect. I think they're saying to Nexus people, don't worry, we'll take care of you. But I mean, really.
But they're not going to do any new Nexus phones.
Right.
And they're also saying like, all right, we've allowed other manufacturers to make Android phones for a while now. You've had the Samsungs out there. You've had Motorola. You've had some other things.
Wait, is there a fire in here somewhere? Wait, oh, no.
HTC has made some stuff.
HTC, I think, is reportedly making the Pixel and the Pixel XL, the larger Pixel. There's two of them.
But I think overall, Google is probably not very happy with some of these things, some of these devices.
Isn't this the same thing that Microsoft did with the Surface? They really were not happy with the way other manufacturers were creating tablets, and they thought, we need to come up with something that's like a reference. This is the way it should be done. Here's what you can aspire to do, and in the meantime, we're going to sell our own hardware. Which, with mixed results, the first Surface tablet was, didn't do so well.
It takes a couple of iterations before you finally get something that people are happy with. So. And again, we'll see whether that works or not. I mean, I think when you look at all of the different announcements, each of them is going to have competitors. The Google Pixel is going to go up against the iPhone. Right. It's going to go up against the high-end Samsung phones.
And it's interesting, the pricing, when you take a look at these things.
The Nexus was inexpensive, right?
Right, and that was the whole point. Yeah. People would say, you can get most of the features on an iPhone at the fraction of the cost. But when you're looking at the new Pixel, which I believe is available for pre-order now and goes on sale later this month, maybe the 13th
starts at $650.
Yeah,
and then the higher end one is like $849, right?
$49. I mean, that's iPhone territory.
Yeah.
So they're really going to have to deliver on quality here and on services if they're going to get people into that ecosystem that you're talking about.
Right. And I just want to go over some of the other things. Like the Google Home is the one that looks like the air freshener. That was the it looks like an Airwick.
Yes.
But that has the Google Assistant on it, and that's going to go up kind of against the Amazon Alexa, where you put it in your home. It's got microphones in it, and then you basically say, okay, Google,
literally, okay, Google,
order me some lunch, or and there's a whole bunch of AI components to it where it's going to take context from your life.
It really ties things together when you want to get, again, order something from home, check the weather, whatever.
And then the reason that they're coming out with Google Wi-Fi is that a lot of these, the Assistant in the home need a good Wi-Fi connection in your house, and so they're moving into this wireless mesh networking space, which is not just a big clunky router anymore in your home. What they're doing is they're making smaller devices that you can then spot all around the home to give you more coverage, and some would say even faster connections, because it's a smaller space that you're covering, but you're covering it with more devices so that it creates a blanket. And then there's software that in the phones and some of these other devices that can learn where you are so that your connection doesn't drop.
So we're clearly getting to the point.
But there's competitors in that space too. You've got Eero, Luma, Netgear's coming out with some stuff.
Of course.
Yeah. So each of these devices is not kind of revolutionary in that they've never done anything before. They're going to have to convince people.
But it's the way they're tied together that makes them work. So what I was going to say is, we're getting to the point now when I hear, the AI and you walk into your house and you ask about the weather, or it knows what your schedule is in the morning when you get up. It's sounding more and more like something out of Star Trek, where you turn on the lights, check the weather, what's my schedule for today, order dinner, what's in the fridge, any of that. And it's all sort of tied together. Now, a lot remains to be seen as to whether the voice recognition and the AI will work as expected. It reminds me of that scene. There was a scene in Mr. Robot where the hackers get into somebody's house and they completely screw up the whole system. So she says to close the pool lid and the lights go off, or it starts raining in the house.
Right.
Or,
even just me asking Siri sometimes to do things, it's just like, or you get the answer that was like, well, I don't know the answer, but here, why don't you go to the web?
Here's 3 links online.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
And so when you see them on stage and they're like, hey, Google, do this and this and this, and it goes boom, 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 that's impressive. That's the goal that everybody wants to be.
Right.
When they're watching a movie, or you see this on TV or the sci-fi stuff, it's like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this is great, but we're not there yet.
No, I think, we're talking 5, 10, 15 years down the road before it works seamlessly.
Right. And of course, you've got to then buy into the entire ecosystem for this to happen.
Right.
I did a quick a quick math thing. You'd have to spend $1,230 to get everything. Because
that gets you the phone, the Wi-Fi, the home, the
VR headset that they also announced, the Chromecast Ultra, which is their Apple TV type of your little streaming device. You've got to have an audience out there in a market that really loves Google.
Well,
just
I
like
think
Apple,
you do.
and Apple's done
I think
it.
you do.
I don't know yet. I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical about that.
My concern with this, and we're sort of veering off into a different topic here.
Feel free to veer.
My concern, no, I love to veer. My concern is privacy. All right. So this has been this huge issue about devices listening in on conversations, and one of the things that Google will be doing is listening to these conversations and mining this data, in the same way that it mines information when you do searches.
Right.
So you're in effect inviting Google into your house to keep tabs on your conversations. If you have a conspiratorial bent, and who doesn't these days, given what's going on, that might be something that would leave people leery about investing in the whole ecosystem.
Right, and it's this irrational fear, I think, that a lot of people have, because we all know that Google already knows a lot about us.
Yes.
Because they've, it's in the phone. Even if it's even if it's not a Google phone, and you could still do a Google search. You can still, you could still use Google Chrome as your browser if you're not using Safari. So there is some information out there. Everything on your computer, if you're using Google to do all your searches, they know all that stuff, and all the companies that have search and cloud and all this other stuff. But this, we never worry about that privacy.
Makes it a little
but
more
as soon as you see a physical box come in your home, you're like, oh my God, they're going to be tracking me. And, and it's weird, but I have that same fear. It's like, I don't know if I really want to do this. And
that's the trade-off, isn't it? I mean, you get the convenience of walking into your house and speaking to the house and telling it to turn on the lights or close the garage door, or you want to know what the weather is. Right. It's convenient. And
is that worth it versus
I'd like
them
to just
knowing
flick
everything
on the light
about
switch
you
in the privacy of my home without anybody knowing about it?
And not only knowing everything about you, but then using that information to try to sell you more stuff through advertising. And it's just
perhaps
kind
more
of like,
Google devices maybe down the road.
But not just that. It's just contextual. Like hey, Google, can you order me Chinese food? And then all of a sudden, 3 days later,
getting lots of
you're getting lots of Chinese food ads and things like that. I mean, that's how it works with the browser world, right?
Yeah.
So then you got to be careful about what you do online if you do some of the seemly things.
Honey, we're out of laundry detergent. Oh, look, lots of ads for laundry detergent.
You're being nice too. I'm not.
No,
I can tell you the seedier side of things. That there's a whole reason that incognito mode exists. Right?
I'm serious. That's one of the reasons.
I wonder if there's going to be one for your voice.
You mean basically don't listen to what I'm saying?
Okay, Google.
Don't listen to this. Don't the next few minutes. Okay, Google, don't record, please.
Right.
We won't get into that now. But no, I do agree, and I think, but again, back to the original point. Clearly, Google sees that there is a market here that they need to play in.
Right.
In the same way that obviously Apple has been building different building blocks along the way.
And Microsoft
and Amazon as well, and Amazon too. And so we could have a situation where you've got essentially 4 different companies and lots of other smaller companies as playing roles in the ecosystems that you get to choose from. Now Apple has obviously made its case for privacy. You know, at least when it comes to the iPhone,
Right.
there's the whole situation with the shooter last year in
Yep.
San Bernardino, and it couldn't crack the phone, and the FBI wanted to get in, and Apple said, we can't help you. We don't have it. It's not there. That may be a smart play. We'll see. You know, I mean, I think most people, if they're going to be buying into the Google ecosystem, know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
You know, they realize that they're probably giving up some sense of privacy for convenience.
Right.
But
and they haven't defined that convenience to my liking yet.
Well, we have to make sure it works. Again, if it
Right.
doesn't really work, you're giving up a ton of information about yourself, your life, everything around you, for something that may be only partially doing what you wanted
Like,
to do.
remember when when I was on the show probably 3 or 4 months ago, or whenever Pokemon Go came out.
Back in like June.
And I don't know if we
July.
discussed this, but there was the idea that people would be inside, you know, they would be tracking you where you were when you were playing the game.
Yeah.
And then it somehow figured out that if you were inside a building, like that it could figure out the layout of the building and things like that. And that got people really kind of concerned. It's a similar thing. I mean, they're not actually tracking your location when you're in the home, but they're going to hear a lot of stuff.
Or are they?
Who knows? I mean, it depends on if we were wearing the tinfoil hats or not.
Well, you know, or the VR, the VR headset that perhaps, shows you all kinds of things.
That could be the topic for another episode about the whole good evil thing that we've been chatting about.
All right. So anyway, the 411, the TLDR is Google's making a big play for hardware, is obviously creating an ecosystem that will put it up against, Apple, perhaps Amazon, Microsoft. Rivalry and competition is good, ideally, because it will force the other companies to play catch up in some areas.
Especially in all these different markets that they're going to be in.
Right. So that's good for the consumer. That's good for people, who like their hardware. But the bottom line is you still have to worry about privacy.
Uh-huh. And that people should call them on it if it's discovered that they're doing more than they want, which we expect.
And what happens if this gets hacked? Another topic for another day.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's a nice roundup of what's going on with Google this week.
Speaking of hacking,
that's a good transition.
There you go.
I did want to call out a special report that IDG has done this week on hacking the election. There's been a lot of stories out there about Russian hackers and shady groups trying to get into voter registration databases and maybe doing something with your voting machines. And Donald Trump has talked about the possibility of a rigged election. I think he means rigged in a different way, but he did ask the Russians to start, looking for emails and everything else. So IDG has put together a special project with Computer World, CSO, and the IDG News Service that I would direct you to take a look at our sites and read up on what's going on. Some of it's real, a lot of it's myth, but there are some serious concerns there. I think for now, a month out from the election, that'll do it for us with Google and Pixel. And Keith, thanks for stopping by.
You need to say about Apple like 6 more times now.
Apple. And that's a wrap.